Hey guys, it's tamerilee. You don't know this, but this is like take 35 of like me trying to be productive, trying to film a video, but whatever, I'm here. Okay, so today I just felt prompted by my spirit to talk about self-care. Now, just so this won't be clickbait off the bat, self-care isn't a face mask. It isn't getting your nails done. It isn't getting your hair done per se. That's skincare. That's getting your hair done. Self-care, what is yourself? And you have to care for that. Are you your nails? Are you your skin? Are you your pimples? Are you your toes? Figure that out first. I think for me, I just from my personal experience, now this isn't me referencing any material. This isn't me taking information I watched from other videos. This is just from my experience. I'm 21 years old. I'm a student. I don't work anymore because for me that was a part of self-care. It was affecting myself. But I'm working for myself now. I had depression, severe depression, medicated, saw multiple doctors, therapists, psychologists. So this is just from my experience. I tried the face mask. I tried the listening to different music. I tried going to the gym. I tried all that stuff. That's really, really surface. And normally those are things that you do once you kind of already healed yourself. And that's just kind of like maintaining hygiene. That's just maintaining self-esteem. But my depression was too deep for that. And those who have depression or those who have anxiety or those who have any other mood disorders, mental health problems, you understand that when you are depressed, when you reach a certain point of your life where you don't even care what happens tomorrow, let alone to see it, what the hell is a face mask? Do you know what I'm saying? And so and a lot of people might be saying, why do you keep saying self-care isn't a face mask, self-care isn't getting your nails done and stuff? I'm on Twitter a lot, Instagram, not Facebook, but just you see all these posts like people saying, this is 50 different types of exotic oils and freaking like serums and aloe vera and drink 20 glasses of water and you'll live your best life. And that really isn't what it is. And a lot of people don't have that discernment to understand what is a social media joke, what is a tip from someone who really doesn't know what the hell they're talking about, and what really is truth. And so just for me, I realized you really only truly get discernment once you experience those things, and you can kind of say, okay, from my experience, from the people that I know, that's not the truth. And so I just want to let other people know, when you're depressed, when you're anxious, when you feel like you're just down in a hole, nothing will help, do not feel like, oh my God, nothing's happening, nothing's working, I'm trying everything that I see online and it's not helping. Maybe you cannot see a therapist, maybe you don't have health insurance to go to a doctor, maybe you don't have the means, the transportation to go to a doctor, and you're trying to find quick fixes or solutions online to help your mental health because you feel like nothing's out there for me. Like, there's no point. Sometimes you feel almost suicidal. And if you do feel suicidal, please click off this video. Well, you can watch it if it helps. But please, even if you have to face some sort of medical bill, your life is freaking important. You have no idea the power of your life, the power of your journey, the power of your purpose. Once you understand that, once you encounter and meet your purpose along your life path, what is a freaking medical bill? Do you know what I'm saying? So let me just get right into it. So for me, right, let me just talk about how my depression started and how I got myself out of it. Of course, it's rare that you completely alleviate yourself of all depression symptoms, of all anxiety symptoms, but you come to a point in your life where where you see the sunshine again, where you see the purpose of preparing for tomorrow again. And that's where I'm at right now. So just to start, I'm 21 years old. My depression started when I was around, I want to say 19. I was out of state at my university, and it's a private university, very, very small. I dormed, of course, and I was dealing with a lot of things socially that prompted my depression, and then it was kind of just like a domino effect. You come to find sometimes when you are triggered into a depression state, it just seems like not only that is wrong, but everything else is wrong. Everything in life just sucks, and then you just start nitpicking. But the first thing that really started my depression was basically after living my best life. Part of my nails, that's another video. Part of my nails. Anyway, my freshman year of college, I was living my best life. I, was a Maryland girl in New Jersey. I didn't know anybody, but I was signing up for all these events. My school had a program where you could just go to all these events in New York City for free. We were right outside of New York, so just taking one bus and you can go to, we went to the Carnegie Hall, Lincoln Center, botanical gardens, the Whitney Museum. We did everything, all for free. So I was doing all these things. I was, going to the gym every day, eating salads because, buffet style, cafeteria. I was doing everything that I wanted to do on my own before I met my friends. Before I met my friend group, which is another story. When I was just there without any friends, I was really living my best life. I had the momentum of my senior year of high school, which was great. Got good grades, was really involved in school, so I had the momentum. I met this friend group maybe the second or third month into my freshman year. And when you become attached or surround yourself with people that have nothing to lose, it's worse than drugs. It's terrible. It really just, because people really underestimate the power of their circle. When you're going through something or when you need help, even if you need advice, tips, motivation, you look to your circle. You might not be that close to your family, especially when you're out of state in college. People are busy. Your parents might be working, picking up an extra job just to pay for your tuition. You feel like you can't just keep calling your mom, dad, brother, sister, or whoever to help you. And so you look to your friends. You look to your sorors. You look to your frat brothers. You look to the people around you. And those people are destructive, ignorant, especially, and have low self-worth and do not care about their life, then it's like a monkey in your back. It's contagious. And so I was becoming very, very destructive. The thing is, they were fun. And so when you're around, and this is just my story, you might be like, oh, when is she going to get to the point? But I'm just trying to get you to understand where I'm coming from and how my depression started, because when I was with this friend group, I knew that they were destructive. When I came into college, I never kissed anyone before. I was completely a virgin, never did like drugs or anything. I was really clean cut and really sensitive, really kind of not pure in any way, but just kind of naive and innocent in a type of way. But I really was eager to experience life. I wanted to have that college experience. I grew up watching Degrassi and MTV, True Life, and all that stuff. And I felt like everyone was experiencing things that I wasn't. And even if it was bad, even if it was risky, I wanted to experience it because I felt like my life was boring. I feel like I just wanted to say that I did all these things, and that was my number one problem. So first, I think with self-care, I'm going to start doing tips and tricks as I go along. First with self-care, get in a quiet room, just look in the mirror or just sit underneath your covers and just try to identify your flaws. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, every single time you go on Twitter, every single time you go on Instagram, it's, oh, people are toxic. Yes, people are toxic, but you can be toxic too. And you don't necessarily have to be toxic to another person. You can be toxic to yourself. Do you know what I'm saying? So are you the type of person are you a bully to yourself? When you're alone, when you're eating lunch and you don't have a lunch date with you, are you like, oh my God, you're such a loser. You're eating lunch by yourself. No one likes you. When you go in the mirror, do you just pick yourself apart? That's a flaw. And those are all like supporting characters in the grandiose movie of depression. You have to understand that you can contribute to your own demise. And my flaw at the time was that I was afraid of being alone. In a way, well, not necessarily afraid of being alone because, well, yes, I was afraid of being alone. Because you might say, oh, you were there by yourself before you made friends. You were doing all these events. Yeah, I was doing all these events, but they're around people. Do you know what I'm saying? When I was at these events, as soon as I could, on the bus there, I would try to socialize with people on the bus. Just being purely by myself was a problem. I'll be in my dorm room, before my friend group and everything. I'll be in my dorm room, my roommate, she would go out to all these parties, and I remember it's kind of pathetic when I think about it, but she would go out to all these parties, and I remember telling her, hey, you can tag me along too, like I want to come with you. And she's like, oh, it's a different type of crowd, I don't know if you'll like it. I'm like, no, like I honestly just deadass want to do everything, like please. I was actually almost begging her for her to take me out, and I didn't realize that was me being afraid of being alone. I just thought I was a social person, but no, because that trait in myself where I just craved doing things with people, no matter if it was good, bad, or ugly, led to my demise, because I kept in contact, and I kept in close relationship with this friend group throughout my entire freshman year, even when they were dragging me down to the point where I could no longer identify myself. I was doing things that was not of my character. I was doing things that I literally had to drink. I developed a drinking problem because in freshman year of college, because I was like, what the am I doing? I was like, oh my God, I can't do that. I cannot believe I did that. Oh, everyone's looking at me. There was rumors being spread around us. You can get the picture. You can kind of understand what I'm saying. And I don't want to get too specific because I still want you to somewhat identify with my story in a way of, it doesn't really matter that much about the details. Just when you become outside of yourself, when you are no longer aligned with your character, your purpose, you feel detached. Detached from your happiness, detached from your joy, detached from any remnant of confidence. You become a person where you're like, who the hell am I? And how can I live with this person? I wouldn't even look at my blackboard. I knew I was failing classes. And that wasn't me. I didn't know how to deal with that. I didn't know how to deal with this new person. And long story short, after my freshman year of college, somehow I was saved. I didn't fail my classes. I was failing assignments, but I don't know, maybe my teachers liked me or what, but I passed and I kept my scholarship. But it was 4 of us, including myself in the friend group, two guys and a girl. They all left. You know what I'm saying? Like, it came to a point where the 2 guys, they were in a relationship, they were gay, and it was basically an emotionally abusive relationship. And I was so adamant about it. Even though I became someone who was no longer tamerilee, I still had that part of myself where it's like protective, fiery, passionate. And when I realized that they were in an emotionally abusive relationship, I didn't care that they were fun anymore. I didn't care that they were my best friends. I wanted to split them up because I'm like, this is too much. This is too much, and I cannot be co-signing this behavior. So they all left, long story short. And so my depression started sophomore year of college. Coming back to that school, coming back to that out-of-state university, dorming with no friends, basically left to deal with all the shit that I did on my own. And that's really where the depression started, because first it started with shame. It started with really dealing with my fear of being alone, because I was doing all this crazy stuff with my friends, and it was okay because I was with them. When I was embarrassed, when I was ashamed, when I was feeling confused, they're like, oh, Tameri, it's not that bad. Come on, you're living your life. Oh, you're young. It's okay. Da, 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 da. When I felt insecure, I would just go to their room and hang out with them. And it was the shield of company. Do you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, people were looking at me in the cafeteria whispering about me, but I was with my best friend, so I didn't care. I could ignore it over the volume of my laugh. I could just kind of deflect it because I was like, okay, it doesn't really exist because I'm with my friends. Even if they do talk, even if my reputation is trash now, even if I feel like I have some sort of ailment, I feel like I have a drinking problem, it's okay because my friends don't think it's that bad, so it can't be that bad, right? Your friends tell you the truth, right? Yeah, they did. So anyway, my sophomore year of college, the depression really started. I was so jarred by the absence of this friend group, and I came into there like, what am I going to do now? It is a really small village mentality type of campus. The same people were there as the year before, so I still had a trash reputation. People would still stare at me every single place that I went, and I didn't have that shield of company. I didn't have those people that I could distract myself with. And they were my plug for alcohol too, and I didn't have that. So it was just like almost an intervention from the universe, just like confronting you with your issues, and there's nowhere to run, there's nowhere to hide, there's nothing to smoke, there's nothing to drink. You just have to freaking face it. And I didn't have the tools, I didn't have the emotional energy. I was in emotional debt just from becoming a whole nother person that it was overwhelming. It was too much. I kind of got drastic. I just started thinking, okay, who can I hang out with? People were a drug to me at that point. they're a distraction from the reality that I was ashamed of who I was as a person. I was ashamed of what I did. I was ashamed of who I hung out with. I was ashamed of how much I was drinking. I was ashamed of how much weight I gained. They talk about the freshman 15. I literally gained like 40 pounds in a semester. I went from when I was on my own, losing weight, going to the gym and exercising, to getting this friend group, gaining 40 pounds. Do you know what I'm saying? In 1 year, like, that's wild. So at that point, when you're at that point where you don't want to leave your room, you feel like if you go outside of your dorm room just to go to class, you feel like you're walking butt-ass naked because you just feel so vulnerable. I literally felt like my friends were my clothes in a way. A face mask wouldn't help me then. Okay? Long story short, I just kind of was grasping at straws at whoever I could have as my little buddy, so I couldn't face myself and just so I could distract myself from my life. And it was this girl that was completely and utterly a roach. And she was emotionally abusive. She was kind of physical at times, like aggressively. She turned out to have a crush on me, and that's why she was just very possessive. And it was just a hot ass mess. And I stopped, being, I'm not gonna say promiscuous. I was really sexually active, and I stopped because my friends were kind of like the suppliers for that too. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that's a whole other story. And you guys can comment below if you want me to get more in depth with certain stories. And I don't have a story for everything, but I do have a story for most things. And if you feel like maybe I can shed light or give some sense of comfort in knowing that you're not alone on a certain topic, just comment below and I'll read it. I'll read everything, and I'll try to help you guys out with that. But I'm so glad to say I was still on like certain dating apps and stuff, and I got into my first relationship, and it was a very somewhat healthy relationship. I was treated better than I ever thought I could, and but the girl that I was friends with, just kind of through her possessiveness, through her jealousy, through all her negative traits, kind of ruined all the positive relationships I was building. And I didn't have the sense to just cut off that relationship. It came to the point where she was so clingy to me that, if I wanted to just do something or if I wanted to go somewhere, she was like, oh no, what are you doing? Like, she was a confrontational type, and I'm not a confrontational type of girl. It was just too much for me to deal with. I was dealing with my own depression, my basically loss of self, my shame, understanding that I was living a life now that my entire family was not aware of. I came home on winter breaks and spring breaks and summer breaks, not knowing who to be. I forgot how I used to laugh. I forgot how I used to talk. I just felt like I wasn't a drug addict, but I just felt like how a drug addict would hide their affliction with their family. I was so overwhelmed with everything. I never had to deal with that before. I was such a transparent kid. I used to talk nonstop. I used to laugh nonstop. I literally would get in trouble in school as a little kid for laughing too much. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I was such a freaking SpongeBob type. And I went from SpongeBob to Squidward in a blink of an eye, and I was trying to fake SpongeBob, but it was too much. I said all that to say, I don't want to get too long-winded, and I feel like I am. But for me, self-care is the first step is finding out who yourself is. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, who is yourself without distractions? If you just sit in your room, if you just think about how would you describe yourself to somebody else? Sister, daughter, wife, brother, boyfriend, husband, cousin, friend, dog lover, teacher, engineer, whatever it is. Understand who yourself is. And understand and try to see what are the top things that kind of led to the destruction in your life. The things that happen before your depression, things that happen right before you get anxious. What are those things? Because those things are a trigger to a need that you have, a need that's so insatiable that it causes such destruction in your mental health. So for instance, with me, it was my fear of being alone, and it was my somewhat addictive personality, not necessarily with drugs, but just with anything. If I found something to be exciting, if I found something to be fun, if I found something to be out of the ordinary, I just used it all up till there was none left. I didn't really understand moderation. So just understand those parts of yourself, understand your flaws. Be very acquainted with your flaws. Be very acquainted with the parts of yourself that you necessarily aren't a huge fan of. Because those are the things that you need to treat. That's self-care. Caring for the part of yourself that's missing. Caring for the part of yourself that's neglected. Caring for the part of yourself that you necessarily don't want to parade out in town. But once you handle that, then that's where the healing begins. When I see these things on Twitter about, oh, self-care is taking a freaking bath. Like, girl, bye. I just... I hate baths. I really hate baths. You're just sitting in water. I feel like a freaking chicken soup type. But just understand yourself. Like, for instance, are you a clingy person? Are you a clingy person? If you're a clingy person, and like how I kind of was with my friends, I kind of just clung to my friend group as a distraction. Try to think about when you first started being that way. Was there an event that caused that? For instance, maybe your parents left you in a store. Maybe you were kidnapped. Maybe you have abandonment issues and you feel like if you don't cling to someone, then they'll just run away. Think about that. Try to rationalize not try to rationalize, but try to put that into perspective. You know, say, do I really feel happy clinging to these people, or do I just feel secure? And if you don't feel happy but you feel secure, understand that securement is from the bond. And that bond isn't necessarily dependent on that person. That bond is just security that you can also provide to yourself. If you're a clingy person, if you for me, I had to learn how to be my own company. I had to learn how to enjoy being my own company, because I wouldn't go to the cafeteria by myself. I wouldn't go to the gym by myself, even though I literally would be sitting in bed saying, oh my God, let me go to the gym. I want to go to the gym. Maybe that'll help. Maybe I'll get a salad. Maybe that'll help. But I would wait for my friends to respond to see if they would come with me, and they didn't, then I wouldn't go, and I would just beat myself up all day. Really, Tameri? Why can't you freaking just live your life? Like, what is wrong with you? Like, I'm a Gemini, so I really have those two parts of my brain that kind of talk to one another and just say, what the hell are you doing? Just go out there, just freaking live your life. And the other part of me just says, I can't, So understand that part of yourself. If you're angry, that could deal with the expectations. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, maybe you're holding on to unresolved anger from your childhood, from a relationship, from a job situation, from whatever. You just have to understand that flaw. You have to become that flaw's best friend, because you have to essentially know your enemy. Do you know what I'm saying? In every business practice, in every in a lot of cultures, they say as a idiom or as a proverb, you have to know your enemy. Be best friends with your enemy. And that way, when that comes again, because it is still a part of yourself, things don't just magically resolve overnight. They don't magically resolve in 6 months to a year to 5 years. Sometimes you'll have to live with that part of yourself for the rest of your life. But at least you'll know why it's there, how to resolve it, and how to make peace with it if it's something that you literally cannot change. For instance, if it is a mental health disorder, if it is just something that you cannot control because of hormones, that's self-care. For me, self-care is understanding yourself without distractions. Not necessarily, if you need to ask your mom, if you need to ask your dad, your friends, your boyfriend, your husband, your wife, your girlfriend, if you need to ask them, what are some parts of me that I need to work on that I don't necessarily see in myself? And they'll just say, you can kind of be irrational, you can kind of be angry, you can kind of be aggressive, you can kind of be late, you can, whatever it is. And then even if you have to research things, how can I resolve anger? How can I resolve irrationality? How can I resolve promiscuity? How can I resolve, and that could be a thing too. Do you know what I'm saying? And that is a huge thing also with this culture with, they call it, what is it called? This, you can have 100 bodies and it's perfectly fine. I'm just speaking from my experience. When I was doing that, I literally felt like I was losing myself every single time, only because that wasn't a part of me. Some people are naturally polyamorous, some people are naturally sexually confident, and it's not because of trauma, it's not because of daddy issues, it's not because of mommy issues. But understand, for some people, whenever you do too much of something, it's because you lacked it at one point of your life. And For me, I feel like in my life I lacked intimacy. As a child, we weren't a touchy-feely family. My mom was a workaholic. My dad and my mom were divorced, so I'd see my dad only on the summer times. Do you know what I'm saying? So I just felt a lack of intimacy in my life. My friendships weren't that deep. They wouldn't come over to my house. I wouldn't go over to their house. I didn't really feel comfortable being emotional with my friends. I didn't literally become intimate with my friends until maybe not even 2 years ago, maybe last year, because my depression was so deep that I was just kind of problem solving in my life, and I was like, okay, I feel alone. I have all these friends. Let me just try to tell them what the hell is going on, and maybe I can see if I can help in some way. And so I literally just became intimate with my friends just last year at the age of 20. Do you know what I'm saying? So when it comes to things like that, when you're really active in your sexual life and you feel like you cannot be sane, or you just feel like you'll be agitated if you don't have sex frequently, if you don't have a partner frequently, understand, and that can be a problem that needs to be resolved. And you can keep doing that. Do whatever that makes you feel fulfilled, not necessarily happy, because happy is very fleeting. Fulfilled is more long lasting. So if that makes you feel fulfilled, then okay. But if it just makes you feel like almost like you need another cigarette, you have to look at that. And for me, self-care is just literally understanding yourself and what you need. And what you need without buying. If you have to buy it, you really don't need it. Human beings are born with everything really that we need, unless you have a disability or something, or if you have a mental illness where you need a prescription. We are really born with most, if not all, the tools that we need. You've known yourself since you were a freaking child. Do you know what I'm saying? Since you were a baby, since you were conscious. You'll know yourself until you die. There's only so much you can explain, and there's always something that you will not say to a therapist. You can feel like you explained your whole life to them, but there's always something you're leaving out. And that one thing can be that thing that can really have your breakthrough. So at the end of the day, you're the only one who really knows yourself. And so you can go to tamerilee therapists, and I'll do a video on therapy and how it's not for everybody, because I went through that too. But try to learn how to become your own therapist just by dealing with the raw achiness. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I literally was sitting in my room just months on end, doing nothing but thinking, doing nothing but crying, having panic attacks, anxiety attacks, because it was just like, it was essentially somewhat trauma. And yes, my depression came from just feeling completely isolated and shamed and outside of myself in college. But then it not necessarily shined light, but it shined darkness on my other things too. Things from childhood, essentially domestic violence and afflicted on me, and manipulation from people that were closest to me. And it was a lot to deal with, and I nearly felt like I was going to lose my mind at some point, because it was too much. It felt like it was too much dealing with everything. I tried to open up to my family members, and I tried to open up to doctors and friends, and it seems like nothing really was helping. What I want to say before I go on another tangent, and this is my style, I write how I talk, so even if I were to start like a written blog, it would be like some 20-page type shit, so understand that. What I will say is this: self-care is, of course, identifying your flaws, identifying your traumas, facing it, becoming acquainted, because that shit will not go away. And you have to understand that you have to understand its roots, its causes, its cures, and its treatments. That's the only way you can really find. That's like the main self-care. The second self-care is also when you feel depressed, when you feel like you're getting anxious, when you feel like you have a problem that isn't regular, isn't normal, please go to a doctor. Mental health, physical, whatever, go to a doctor. Get blood tests taken, get your hormone levels checked. I had to go to a neurologist because my anxiety was so bad for so long. I would say, critically anxious for, I don't know, almost 10 years, since I was a kid, when my domestic violence thing kind of began. And, but I didn't realize I was anxious. You know what I'm saying? I had my first anxiety attack, per se, when I was in college after a teacher literally yelled at me right in front of class. So, and that happened quite often. So I didn't really know I was anxious, but when I would have these physical symptoms of, for instance, when you're sleep deprived, or when you have too much coffee, your eye twitches, or your lip twitches, or you just have muscle twitches just from fatigue, stress, frustration, anger, that build up energy. It just kind of malfunctions your nervous system. I had that everywhere. Every muscle that ever existed was twitching, and maybe at the same time every single day, around my temples, my eyebrows, my lips, everything would twitch. Do you know what I'm saying? And I just felt like I had some autoimmune disease. I felt like I hit my head when I was a kid, and maybe it's causing me to have like these muscle issues. Like every freaking muscle just twitched all day, every day. Not like I would be shaking or anything, but I would always feel something twitching on me every single day for like 8 to 10 years. And it got to the point where it was so bad, like muscles in my arms would just like kind of like jump. And I'm like, what the hell? Like I would take vitamins, drink endless water, sleep, tea, yoga, everything. It didn't work. Went to a neurologist, did endless MRIs. I got electrocuted with this ECG type thing. They have to attach electronic probes to you and send electricity and jolts to you to see if your muscles respond. It was a mess. I literally went through every single medical test you could do, and turns out it was anxiety. But yeah, so I'm just saying that I know what I'm talking about. That really helped me because I realized that, Tameri, this isn't just because you live in a nice neighborhood, just because you have a nice parents, just because you went to your top choice school. You can still have problems. You might not be living in a disadvantaged neighborhood. You might not be getting spit on and beat on every single day, but you can still have problems, and those problems are very valid. I didn't realize how deep my anxiety and depression was until I had to go to a neurologist and get prescribed like a shit ton of pills to realize that it was anxiety. And so I went to therapy, and it necessarily didn't help me because I just felt kind of misunderstood, and I kind of felt like they were kind of dragging along a process that should have progressed much more than it did. Sometimes when you try to go to therapy, they just that can be a part of self-care too, where they say go to therapy. And yes, but if you're I don't want to discourage anyone going to therapy, and I'm going to leave that alone. I think everyone should just go, because just because I had my experience does not mean that someone else will have the same experience. Just realize that therapy is almost like blind dating. You have to find your right match, and it might not be the first try. It might not be the second try. You might have to go through 3 or 4 therapists, and don't just think the first therapist that you set an appointment with is going to be the perfect one, because people are people, and therapists normally, they can read a million books and they have their degrees and stuff, but they normally, like anyone else, operate in a way that aligns with their personality and aligns with their own life experience. So just understand that it might be a bit of a process just trying to find the right therapist, let alone to start the process of healing. I'm going to start winding down to the end of this video because I don't know, I feel like I'm rambling. But I just want to say that self-care is identifying your flaws, looking at the dark parts of yourself, this part of the part of yourself that is literally just dying in the closet, bemoaning, and you hear that in the middle of the night, and you're like, oh my god, I want to die already. Like, I locked the door, I put the little thing underneath the door crack, like, just die, I don't want to deal with you, you're too much, you're just abuse, neglect, insecurities, eating disorders, mental disorders, sexual assault. Oh my god, that's a huge thing too. And all those things that you just don't want to deal with because it takes too much time. I'm sorry, even if you literally do not have the emotional energy to deal with it, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It'll just remain until you're retired and you have the time to be in the house and just face it. Do you know what I'm saying? But you have to identify those things. If not, it'll just be that thing that's just when you're not looking, and then next thing you know, you're yelling at someone because they didn't pass the salt. You're just having all this unresolved kind of simmering frustration and this simmering just sadness, achiness, and you don't deserve that. You don't deserve that. Take the time out. If you have to call off a day or 2 off work just to cry, just to get it all out, because if you don't get it out, it's going to stay in. And it's as simple as that. It's just getting it out. If you have to write down, the F word 10 million times in a notebook, if you have to get a punching bag to pretend like you're just beating up your abuser, or you're just beating up yourself because of so many things that you did that you're ashamed of, you have to do something. You just cannot, paint your nails away and just think you're just going to become some magically strong, confident, healed person. And self-care is that. Self-care is dealing with the stuff that only you can really deal with. And that's a unique journey. I don't want to get too specific because it's really different for everybody, and I don't want you to think that doing a certain specific thing is going to be the end all and be all. No, your savior might be you might be a doctor, or you might be a medical student or a STEM major, and you just start writing songs or something to sing it out and to get it out of you, and that might help you process your emotions. Or you might be the type of person that starts martial arts. You might be the type of person that just has crying spells every day for a month because you're now confronting all of your fears and your issues. But then after a month, you're like, okay, I feel like I can handle this. Do you know what I'm saying? It's really, really unique to you. And don't ever put a timeline on your healing process. Like I said, I was depressed for about 2 years, and it sucked. And like I said, at one point I thought I was going to lose my mind because I was dealing with this depression and anxiety. This domestic violence thing came back into my life, and I was at this job that just pissed me off. It was, being a cashier at Harris Teeter, and the people were just annoying me, and I just felt like I was stuck, and I felt like I was about to lose it. I didn't have an end in sight in my mind. I felt like nothing was helping. I was trying to be all positive, you know what I'm saying? And another thing about self-care is, there's this quote I posted on my Instagram page, tamerilee, TAMERILEE. If you want to follow me, I post things about my life, motivational, real self-care, growth quotes that you can probably identify with on those bad days. And if you just need some encouragement, hopefully my posts come at a great time for you so that you can say, okay, maybe that was a sign. I'm all with synchronicities. If you're going through a bad day and you just so happen to come across something that helps, I'm all for that. So I just post things that I feel like will just help other people. And one quote I posted was, you cannot heal in the same environment that made you sick. So I literally had to, after I was really depressed my sophomore year, they tried to medicate me. My mom had to drive up 4 hours a couple times because she thought I was going to do something. And I had to eventually drop out of school and start my life back at home because it was just too much. And I knew that if I was going to stay at that school, I was just going to lose myself. Do you know what I'm saying? So I needed that support. I needed my mom. I needed my bed. I just needed time to just cry in my room without someone, smoking weed next door. And so you cannot heal in the same environment that made you sick. That's self-care. And abusive relationships, abusive friendships, jealous friendships, unsupported friendships, a job that literally asks you to do slave level work for $8 an hour. There's always something that you can change in your life, and it might be scary, but you have to keep the faith, because when you step into fear, you step into faith. I believe my best friend in my head, Jeannie Mai, I keep doing this, I'm sorry. My best friend Jeannie Mai for the real said that when you step into fear, you step into faith. And honestly, we feel like, oh my God, my life will go to crap if I lose this, if I quit this job, if I leave this relationship, there's nothing out there for me. Then you're right. You have to just, if you believe that, okay, this job is not for me, this person is not for me, this relationship's not for me, this house is not for me, this neighborhood is not for me, but there's something else that is, then you're right. You are right. And if you have your filter of this is not going to work, this is whatever, even if you have to fake it. I had to fake a lot of stuff. I had to fake positivity for myself. I had to fake security for myself. I had to fake confidence because I just had to. I was sick and tired of being so solemn all the time. I was sick and tired of being depressed, trembling, having every muscle in my body twitch because I was so freaking anxious, and I just had to fake like, okay, I'm gonna get there someday. Let me just try to get a little taste of it now, see how it feels, and then maybe when I feel it in a couple years, I'll be okay. I'll be like used to it. I'll be comfortable in it. I had to fake being confident. I had to fake a smile on my face a couple times. So if you're nervous about changing your environment, if you're nervous about leaving a situation that isn't necessarily comfortable or familiar, but you know that it's better out there for you, just get yourself where you can grow. If a flower cannot bloom, do you blame the soil or do you blame the flower? Do you know what I'm saying? So it's scary, and you might have to put your ducks in a row. You might have to start saving. You feel like, okay, yeah, this house is driving me insane. This job is driving me insane. This relationship is driving me insane. Get your ducks in a row. It's irrational, and it's not realistic to think that you can just change your life overnight, but you can start putting your ducks in a row. You can start implementing a plan. You can start thinking of an escape plan. You can start thinking of a way to get into a situation that you can actually be sane in. And it's all for you. It's all for the benefit of you. It's not selfish. It's not irresponsible. It is the most responsible thing that you can do. Do you know what I'm saying? You keep doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. What is that? So just, that's self-care for me. I don't want to keep going on and on and on and on. Please comment below if there's something that you think that I missed, or something that helped you, something that you believe self-care really is, instead of something that social media says that it is, because I think those things are more so comedic, but a lot of people don't have that discernment to realize that. So just realize that you are on the right path. The fact that you even clicked on this video, the fact that you even have it in your mind to get a little bit of positivity in your life, to get a little bit of encouragement in your life, to get a little bit of motivation in your life, you're on the right path. And it's not going to happen overnight. Don't think that it is. Don't think it's going to happen next week or next month. It's going to happen on its own timeline, and it all depends on your own life, your own experience. Don't rush yourself. Don't rush the healing process. You didn't get jacked up overnight. And even if you did get jacked up overnight, those feelings were brewing for longer than 24 hours. So expect that long, or maybe half as long, or whatever, to heal. Just understand that as long as you're on the process of healing, you're doing great. And I just want to say that I love you guys. Love yourself. My little tagline, closing thing for my videos, because this is technically my first one, is just, I love you, love yourself. And just like when you're on a plane and they say put the oxygen mask on before you help anybody else, that's really the key to life. That's what you have to do. And please don't give up on yourself. Please don't commit suicide. Don't attempt suicide. Most, if not all, of the literature, material, videos I saw of suicide and stuff, the people that did survive, they, at least the ones that, you know, jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge, if you saw those videos, and they survived or anything like that, they kind of, the split second before they hit the water or hit the ground or whatever, they felt regret. And you might not understand, you might not be able to see, you might not be able to hear, smell, taste the light now, but that does not mean that it's not there. Do you know what I'm saying? You can't see it now. You can't visualize it now. You cannot conceptualize it now. You cannot hear it now. You don't even know that it's there, but it's there. And please allow yourself, even just to humor yourself, just to be like, oh, let me just see, whatever. I'm here, might as well make the most out of it. Just do that. And throughout time, throughout effort, it's going to take effort. You can be spending 5 years sitting in a chair, nothing will happen because you're sitting in a chair. You have to do some sort of effort, small steps. As long as you're stepping, you can be moving half a mile an hour, but you're still making progress. As long as you're doing that, it's inevitable. It's science. It's life. It's the universe. You'll come to the light. So just please don't give up. You are a boss. Blankety blank. I don't want to curse too much because hey. But you are it. You're here for a reason, and you don't have to know that reason right now. You might know the reason. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to know anything. Human beings in general do not know a gosh darn thing. We don't. You know what I'm saying? We discovered less than 10% of the Earth's oceans, but we want to understand or think that we understand the meaning of life and stuff. We don't, and that's okay. But just understand that there's things for you to experience yet that you haven't experienced. There's things for you to see. There's things for you to taste. There's people for you to meet. You know what I'm saying? And if the end of your life you only impacted 5 people, 5 people, that's 5 of you. People are just as complicated as you are. So just understand there's value in everything that you do. And don't give up, because that's a disservice to yourself. That's a disservice to your birth. Your conception, the whole process of you even being here was work. Maybe your parents weren't the best, but it doesn't matter. It will still work for you to even be here, for you to be living every day. Do you know what I'm saying? Even if you are depressed and anxious, and this video doesn't really touch you in a way that I hope it does, just understand that that's okay. But as long as this is in your mind, and as long as this is in your spirit, and I said something that can prompt you to begin a process of just discovering yourself, if maybe that's the only thing that it does, then I'm happy. And I'm happy for you to begin a journey of understanding that yes, you don't know anything, but that's the joy of things, and that's the joy of just getting yourself to a point where you can just go outside and sit down on a chair and look at the trees and be okay with that. You don't need a drug, you don't need a drink, you don't need weed, you don't need a man, you don't need a woman. You can just sit down on a chair and just look outside on the window. I'm filming my videos in front of my bedroom window, and that's all you need. Do you know what I'm saying? All you everything comes from you. I hope we all strive to live a life where everyone else is an additive to just what we really have. Your partner, your friends, they add on. But if you become a point to where you're so dependent, where if they're missing from you, you feel less valuable. Let's all just be on a road of trying to get rid of that in our life. People are beautiful, people are special, people are essentially beneficial and funny and happy and wonderful, but you are too. And let's focus on that. That's one thing we can control. 2019, summer 2019. Let's have a fulfilling, slow and steady growth. And I love you guys, and love yourself. I hope to see you in my next video. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching my video. Follow me on Twitter at @realtamerilee, and if
add me on the ground.
@tamerilee. Like and subscribe to join the tribe, and comment to join the conversation. I'll see you guys next time.